Howdy, friends. Thanks for landing on this page and this video. Aaron and I are going to share some thoughts. This is a conversation between Aaron, me, and you about what this community we've put together is in response to. So please follow along, hang out in this conversation to see if this resonates with you, if this feels like a fit. And by the end, you should know if you want to apply for this community or not. So there you go, Aaron. How about that?
I think that's a great intro, Chris. Let's keep that. Let's not edit that out.
Okay, no editing. Yeah. Well, I think I'll kick things off with this. I think that in what's cool about real estate, it's an industry that allows people to have fantastic income, fantastic life. And if you structure it right, you can really build a life out of it. My frustration in the industry was that it kind of got to like a lot of the real estate conversations, but my soul wanted to expand into something more. And not that there's anything wrong with the real estate conversations.
Right.
Just felt there was something else missing that I wanted to explore. And that's what I think you and I are coming together to be like, hey, I think we're not alone. I think there are other agents in the world who want to make social impact, social change that goes beyond GCI. And that's what we're putting this community together in response to. So,
yeah, I think, when you say it, Chris, when you say it like that, I think that's the case for many people. Many successful people get to the point, in life, in success in all domains where they get what they want, and then they're like, is this all there is?
Right.
Is that it? Because how many people do we coach, Chris, in real estate where the goal is 6 figures?
Right.
That's always the first goal for people, 6 figures. And then they get it and they're like, is this it? Where am I? And then we're really speaking to particularly the agents. This is not for agents that are getting to their first 6 figures or doing their first 100 deals, getting enough. This is really for people where we created this conversation really to speak to people. You're over 100. You've got business that comes because it comes to you because you've developed a business and it's successful and it's growing to whatever extent you're committed that the business aspect grow. But you don't have any attention now on, am I going to make it? Right. You may have attention on, can I get to the next level? Can I, go from 100 to 200? Can I get from 50 transactions to 100 transactions? Can I grow my team from 10 to 20? Whatever it is, those are concerns you may have, but the concern for your own personal survival, like you had to hustle in the beginning, those are behind you.
Yeah. And
so we're speaking to, you got to have that kind of base to actually have, I think, to be able to hear what this conversation provides. Yeah.
Because we're stepping into something new. Like, in other words, if you're going to pursue purpose, if you're going to pursue social change, but all the while you feel insecure about finances, you don't feel stable or grounded in who you are and where your provisions are coming from, then your heart won't open. Like, the thing is, like, this is heart work. And your heart doesn't open to purpose if you're constantly in fear of survival. So I think to your point, like, you would need to be somebody who feels grounded in the success you have and are ready for more. That's the thing. Yeah.
And specifically, not just more business, specifically not more business. I mean, you could be interested. I'm always interested in more business. I'm in production. Chris is not, but I'm in production and I love more business. I am not turning away business. So there is, I'll just go through the 3 L's that we created for this, Chris. I think that's, we really did create this around, there's Gary Keller's 3 L's, leads, listing, and leverage, right? And those are, that's.
And then there's the new 3 L's.
And now there's these 3 L's. So once you've really mastered those 3 L's, and the other thing is, this is not to diminish that. That is critical. It's the foundation upon which we're speaking. And the 3 L's that we're interested in exploring here is legacy, leadership, and what's our third L? Leverage.
Leverage.
I always forgot. So leverage, legacy, and leadership, and in any order, because you can turn the triangle any particular way. But really, it's what's your legacy? Chris is talking about purpose, mission, vision, and we may use those interchangeably. And I don't know that it's critical I mean, maybe it's something worth exploring down the road, the difference between mission, vision, critical,
Legacy. Yeah.
legacy,
Yeah.
calling, whatever, all those things, but really legacy in particular, like when you're gone, what's going to be left? For those of us that have kids and families, we always legacy, sort of the context of legacy occurs like your family. What are you going to leave for your family? But it's for many people don't have families, or
Sure.
even if you do, what's your mark? What's the mark you're interested in making now and for the future? So there's legacy, and then there's leadership in terms of who you are in life, out fulfilling on that legacy.
Yeah, I think that's an important distinction is the leadership in fulfilling on that destiny. Because if you are where you are in the success of your business, you already are a leader. You've been leading. The key point here is how we transition that leadership into in service of the place you want to make a dent in the universe.
Exactly. It's great. I like making a dent. That's good. So then there's that leadership, and then leverage speaks to all of it. Speaks to, it speaks to, one of the conversations Chris and I were having a while back was just, the unique place a realtor is located in their community. How central we are to one of the most emotionally, certainly the most financially impactful event of someone's life. We're really connected to the people we're connected to. Our clients, our community, our business is based on a really profound, deep-seated connection, right? For those of us there are certainly transactional agents, and that's not really who we're speaking to. We're speaking to relationship-based agents that really we're a part of those people's lives in a really big way. So to be able to leverage our position in their lives so that they are unleashed to fulfill on both what we're up to and can see it's possible to fulfill on what they're up to leverage that. Yeah. There's also the aspect of leverage that's, speaks to what Seth Godin speaks about when he talks about your tribe, your 1,000 true followers, your 1,000 raving fans, those leveraging the dent you want to make inside that tribe, calling more people that hear that as their legacy, or hear that they want to contribute to that legacy. So you will leverage your community both ways to fulfill what you're up to. And then that turns into, frankly, we're all for that turning into bigger and more business, because now it's no longer inside of listings and leads as a context. Right. It's inside of leveraging that world, not them. I don't like leveraging people. It's an idea, but leveraging that world to fulfill something that really matters. So that's really the world we're out to explore.
Yeah. And I think that's a good way to say that. Like we are, so I think one of the things that happens in the industry or in business in general is there is a culture of mastermind, a culture of seeking, a culture of learning. And in this world, there are the gurus and the not gurus. There's the people on the pedestals and the people looking up at the pedestals. And I think what you and I are introducing here, or at least cultivating here, is a container of peers. Like that this is not Chris and Aaron having answers. Chris and Aaron are not on pedestals. We are pioneers. We're pioneering something, and to do that, we're going together. This isn't Chris and Aaron have all the answers, and you should learn from us if you want to go where we are. We're saying, hey, if we could have new conversations about how to leverage a business for the purpose of social change. So it's not either or. It's not I got a big business or I go pursue my purpose. It's how do I use my business to leverage the impact I want to make in the world? And none of us have that answer. This is a path we walk each other home on. And that's what we're doing here that feels so different to me than what is currently available in the business world and culture.
Yeah, good. And that begins to speak to what is this in response to? Because so the format of it, Chris, just to, I don't know, to complete that thought, but just sort of like to add a little bit around that is, the format is just really, it's interactive because if it's not obvious or don't know what we're doing. Okay. I mean, we know where we'd like to go, but we're not, this is sort of like, we're going to figure out how to get there. And one of the things that came up was, well, I want to talk to other agents that are interested in this as a part of figuring out how to get there. You know, I know I don't know the answer. And what I'm committed that what we don't know about it, you know, our blind spots will be uncovered as we work with other agents that are committed to this vision. So that's the vehicle, is this community that we're building.
I would clarify just a little bit too. Like, it's not that we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, good. Okay.
It's we're stepping into a possibility that hasn't been manifested yet. So what's happened? So what I can say about you and I in our history, Aaron, is that we know the power of dialogue. We know the power of a Socratic space. When there is a question posited that draws out an answer not yet explored, something new opens. You and I have lots of history and experience with that. And in that sense, we totally know what we're doing. What we don't know, and what we're not pretentious enough to assume, is we have the answer for what emerges in this space we're holding.
Much more clear than what I said.
but to your point, like that, the feeling you can have when you're stepping into something new is, I don't know what I'm doing. And I think that's part of why it helps to have a community around it, because otherwise you're left with this nagging internal dialogue of like, God, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, what the hell? Like, is this going to work? Is it not going to work? What I know works is when humans of substance come together in a Socratic environment to draw out of one another the answers not yet explored, something else emerges, something else becomes possible.
Totally. It's just really well said, because we do know what we're doing in terms of that world of creating Socratic conversations, Socratic inquiries. Good. And then so the other piece of that I started, you started to talk about was, what is this in response to? Because I think it's important to pull this out from the background to distinguish what's in the background. And what's in the background for us is when we look out at the space of agents and real estate and the world and what my good friend Jeff Wilmore would call the force field of the business we're in, like what it is that the conversational domains that are not just common, they are all there is. There is GCI, volume, units, sides, right? I can't get on Facebook. I can't get on social media. I can't get on the internet without a plethora of ads talking about free leads, more leads, guaranteed listings, and from the range of people selling that stuff is everything from a 19-year-old kid that closed 7 figures last year, who knows, whatever, or to people that I generally respect. The range is but the conversation's all the same. It's all the same. It's all how to get more business, easier, cheaper, regardless of the quality of it. Some of it, most of it's nonsense, but whatever. The point is, it's the only conversation there is. And we wanted to take we're just bored of that conversation. It's not interesting. I mean, on one hand, growing my team is relatively interesting because I like the financial freedom it provides, and it's useful. And I do enjoy developing, training new agents and seeing that other people succeed. And it's fulfilling from that perspective, but it's so ordinary.
I love that. The idea of a force field of business, not as a force field that is a good thing, but as a force field that sort of prevents anything else. There's like this,
it just sucks you into it. You just, you get in a conversation with another agent and it's how many sides you do.
I think you said it once, is like gravitational pull, like there is this, it pulls you right. GCI it pulls you right back in. Unless there is, so this is great, because unless there is a group of others in a conversation that is different, then what you get, the gravitational pull of the industry pulls you back to the cultural conversation that is GCI, sales units volume.
Yeah.
So this is why community is so important as an ingredient to leveraging your legacy. Is on your own, you flapping your wings to oppose the gravitational pull of gravity doesn't work. Like you alone is not a great strategy for how to create a container to make your impact in the world. But doing it with others, walking each other home with other pioneers who are committed to, that don't have the answer, but are committed to pursuing the impact is a critical ingredient. And that's why it's not a mastermind, though masterminding things happen. It's a conversation and walking each other home. That is what makes this work.
Yeah, Chris, I love that you're building on that gravitational pull part, because it, in a real sense, unless you get enough momentum out of it, you won't make it out.
Yeah.
Right. So there is a aspect of this community that's really building the ship.
Right. Yeah.
That will have us break through the gravitational pull, and staying inside that conversation, which is, where the vehicle, the format of this is weekly for 90 minutes. We get together and, create a conversation. So because we're out to build that bubble or that ship that's to stay afloat, stay distinct from, how many more sides am I going to do this year? Which isn't to say there's something wrong with doing those more sides. I mean, I don't know anyone who wouldn't want to double their product. Great. Or double the size of your team or whatever. Great. Empower more people, make a bigger difference. All that stuff goes hand in hand. It's just not it's not the point anymore in this dialogue. The point then is legacy, leadership, and leverage. The point then becomes that, and let's see how that works. So that's sort of the in response to aspect of this. This was like boredom and a little bit of here we go, Chris, ready? Contempt.
We still have to record that conversation on contempt, but yes, right. Boredom.
But there's a little bit of, like that of boredom, and then like just being just tired of, just done with. Okay. I don't want to talk about that anymore. I just don't.
Yeah. That's so good. Well, that's a great, I think that feels like that ties off the context of what this is. If we move towards the conversation towards like the breakdown, I think it's really helpful to talk about, where do we get stuck? What is the madness we often find ourselves in? And to me, there's probably three areas that we could briefly touch on. One is there is a personal breakdown that we have. There is an industry breakdown that happens, and there is a humanity breakdown that you listening to this see and want to. That's where your impact lives. Your impact lives in making a difference for the breakdown in humanity. So if I think about the personal breakdown, a lot of times it is, and you and I've had interviews with agents who are successful about this concept. And the feedback I got was, please do this. Please, like this it's interesting. It feels like it has substance, which speaks to the breakdown, right? The breakdown then is the conversations I'm in often don't have substance. Mm-hmm. The industry I'm in don't have substance. I feel there's a bigger calling in my soul, and I don't feel like I have any bandwidth to pull it off. Like this making an impact has felt like a distraction or a thing I don't have time for, or an extra to-do list. You see, like there's this personal thing that gets in the way of our own legacy.
Yeah, exactly. It's just really, really well said, is that from a personal standpoint, like I said, we're just bored, just done. Like, like that.
Yeah. Good. I think we're go ahead.
Go ahead. No, that's good. I was going to move on, but go ahead. You do it.
Well, yeah. And so from an industry standpoint, then, and this goes back to the gravitational pull of GCI and sales units volume, there is it's not that the industry doesn't have substance. It's just that it's so hyper focused in one place that innovation is sort of all innovation is dedicated to whatever expands GCI and sales. There's no innovation towards social change, right?
Right. And there's no, if you look at the innovation on the tech side, on the GCI side, it's almost all about disintermediating you.
Right.
Really, the real innovation, if you look at, Inman and whatever else is happening, is to get you out of the equation as a realtor. So it's crazy to get, so there's a real sort of, this is the leverage side of the conversation. is, are you real, but what can't be disintermediated is a human being who's up to something.
Yes. Yes.
There's never going to be an app on the phone that's going to disintermediate you making a difference in social justice or in, women's rights or in, environmental issues or whatever it is that is your legacy.
That's right.
You're going to be up to something and you will be seen in your life as the person who's up to that. And the central role that a real estate agent actually does play in people's lives can be expressed that way. People do business with people they know, love, and trust. They would choose that. So there is a real self-interest also in getting yourself out of the commoditization of the real estate transaction.
I get so fired up about this because I feel like I love that you brought that up, the disintermediation of an agent, because
it's just because it's such a good word. I mean, if you could use
the whole idea of it, the whole distinction of it is great, because you're right. And it's been happening for a couple decades now. I remember I got into real estate in 2001, and the office I was in, we had like a DOS based MLS. Like there was the binder on the shelf, and there was a DOS based MLS. Like that's pretty crazy. But even then, 2001, we were coming off a .com bubble that crashed. The Twin Tower thing, 9/11 happened, so that which created a market crash over a short amount of time. And the internet was coming up. And so there was a lot of talk in 2001 about, is the internet going to replace us? Now, that was a really forward-thinking conversation, and it may be self-fulfilling prophecy. But I remember, and I'm not attached to Keller Williams anymore. I am vested, retired at Keller Williams. But I remember Gary in 2001 saying, you're all worried that the internet's going to replace you, but that's up to you. Like ultimately that's up to you. You're either going to be a fiduciary or you're going to be a functionary. And what's happened is, because I think the barrier to entry is pretty low in real estate, a lot of people got in to the commodity or the function of being an agent. I can open a door, I can put a sign in your yard. And what they didn't do is bring leadership and vision to a people. And that's what cannot be replaced. Fiduciaries are irreplaceable. And that goes beyond the transaction. Like, you be a fiduciary in your community for a conversation that transcends the transaction, you make yourself irreplaceable.
Yeah, totally. And that's the, the problem in our industry is that we're out to, to address, or just that we have the opportunity to provide an alternative path for people.
Right. That's right.
And then there's sort of like the breakdown on the planet, on the world for humanity, which is, too many, not enough leadership, frankly. I mean, really, I rarely look around and go, okay, the current set of leaders have this, we're good.
Right.
I just don't get that experience very often. Yeah. Occasionally I'll be in the presence of someone and I'll say that person gets it, but I don't have the experience or the, and I'll don't make me pull out the data, but that what passes for leadership is just, disgusting really on a lot of levels. And there's an opportunity for us to really empower each other, walk each other home, as you say, to be the voice that of leadership in our communities. It's the think globally, act locally phenomenon. It's the Margaret Mead, never underestimate the power of a small group of people to change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. That we're taking the stand that we're the ones. Yeah. That this community that we're out to build, this rocket ship, is actually here dedicated to making a profound difference in what it is to live life right here on the planet right now. And I can't say that that's not needed.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you get to the other side of those breakdowns, you start to see what opens up as a possibility. What opens up in the world of what could be is, instead of a lack of leadership in humanity, there is a small group of committed people who are actually asking the questions there aren't already answers for. If there are already answers for it, some marketer would be selling it.
Right.
Right. If my Facebook feed would be filled with it. Right.
Right.
But this is what's pioneering about this. Like,
Right.
how many of you listening to this are ready to step into the identity and role of pioneer? I feel like for so many of my 20s, my 30s, I'm now 46, there was this thinking others had been there before me, so I was going to learn the answer from them to get the shortcut. Only now I realize there are some questions I'm more interested in that don't yet have that answer.
Right.
So it falls to me now. I get to be the one, says me, to go explore that. And I just would rather explore it with other people. So there's momentum that happens in community for the humanity problems and breakdowns. There's momentum that happens in community for the industry breakdowns, because we're introducing a new conversation to the industry for other agents wired like us. By the way, I always love how Seth Godin says, in a tribe, it's people like us do things like
this. Yeah.
Right. It's like agents like us, humans like us have conversations like this.
Totally. And I think there's, and so from that perspective, it's not just because I'd rather do it with other agents. It's actually constitutive of the difference we're out to make. This cannot be done on our own. This is not possible to do individually. And that's a really big, it's a really big point, because I think I am, and you are, and most people listening are high D's, driven, do it myself, gonna get it done. That's what our industry pulls for. Yeah. Team leaders, like that. And yet this takes a humbling, a step down, and an acknowledgement that no one has the answer. That this is, and I think that pull towards the high D, that world driven, that's part of that force field. That's part of the gravitational suck of what it is to be in real estate today. And this takes for me, I know it does. And for others listening, it might take a real, I think humbling is a good word. Like, okay, I gotta, it's not even, I gotta ask for help. It's more like, I gotta be willing to be contributed to. And that's the nature of the leadership that we're talking about too. That expresses a different kind of leadership than, the guy that has all the answers.
You said that, and I had this, feeling that popped up was, and I want to be contributed to by people who get this. Right. Like, I don't want to be contributed to by someone trying to coach me. I don't want to be contributed to by someone who hasn't had the lived experience that speaks from ego or bravado or like there is in other words, there's agents like us talk to each other like this. Like there was a peer group, an understanding that we want to be in the trenches with people who have substance and depth and aren't quick to steamroll and talk over people or mansplain something, or like there's a real sitting with the question, and then that's a really good point. Let's look at that. And that's how I want to be contributed to.
Yeah, very good, Chris. Really important to get that. That's right. This is not a coaching relationship. Right. And this looks like it could be a coaching relationship. So we can talk about the format that we have envisioned for this. That's, on those weekly calls, those weekly opportunities to get together, we've got some prompts. We have created prompts, like conversations to start, things to think about, inquiries to have, places to look, things to explore. Any and all of those things sort of point in the direction of what we're talking about. And then it's up to us meaning you, whoever else is here in the community, to explore those things and see what opens up. Again, it really does point to, we don't have the answer, we have the questions. And so there's no coaching you on getting the answer, because we really are looking together. We really are engaged in looking together at something. So it's a very experimental kind of space.
Yeah. With enough, yes, I love that, because it does feel in the sense of an experiment, you're like, let's see what shows up, like
where it goes.
Yeah. What's the result of the study, of the experiment?
Yeah.
The other side of that is that this is not the first time a group of people have come together to explore a possibility that isn't yet written. Like there is lots of precedent in human history that this is how change happens. Change happens when, to your Margaret Mead quote, like when a committed group of people come together, like that's what creates change. So
yeah,
we get the best of both worlds.
Yeah. So while we don't have the answer, the other thing I think, just to speak to the we don't know what we're doing part that you underlined earlier, you and I are both, look, if this kind of back and forth, this is the kind of back and forth that we're going to be doing. Okay. So we do know how to do this kind of back and forth, and we do know how to elicit the kind of responses in people that open up new possibilities and new spaces for them to explore. The methodology is not the part we don't have facility with, or we have facility with that. The thing we don't have facility, it's not even we don't have facility, we just don't know what's there. Right. We don't know what's there till you join, till someone else comes in and they add their dharma.
Yeah. I mean, that's another piece that's so exciting to me about what this can become, is that we're starting with a conversation in a committed dialogue.
Yeah.
How we support one another in the fulfilling of and the leveraging of our legacy. Again, like you don't have to do this alone. Who knows how we could resource one another? Who knows? Who knows? I mean, I think I get really excited about that.
Yeah, totally. And the community gets big enough, and then there's all sorts of magic that can happen in there, and we're just a clearing for that kind of magic. Really creating a clearing, a space in which unforeseen greatness can show up. Pete Carroll always says, okay, something great's about to happen, like that's the space of this. Let's see how that thing goes. So good.
I love that. I think to get to this, so first of all, if you're listening to this and so far this is resonating, you're like, yeah, this is my jam. Well, by now you'd either know if this is your jam or not, right?
Exactly. We don't need to talk anymore about it.
If you hung out this long with us, you'd be like, I love this conversation. Then you'd probably be a fit. Like this would be something you'd want to apply for and try on, right? Like you'd be like, yeah, this feels like my jam. That being said, you would have to come into this. There's some old mindsets, new mindsets that we'd have to play with a little bit here that make it work. Like I love the 4 agreements, because I feel like that's where I got distinguished the whole cultural agreement thing. Like there are agreements that are unspoken that are made culturally. And in the world of real estate, there are some agreements unspoken about how we do things, how we think about things. And if you come into this space of a community with those gravitational agreements, those ways that like, let's hustle, let's grind, let's do this, what's the answer? And you can't, that's an old mindset, is hustle, grind, do. This space is a space where you have to slow it down a little bit to allow the wisdom to show up in the space between the words,
Yep.
That's a new mindset. Old mindset, same person. You put me in a context of hustle and grind, I tend to adapt to the hustle and grind. But you put me in a space where wisdom shows up, and as long as I can get there, then that new mindset serves me to find that wisdom.
Yeah, good. And then you just speak to the apply part. This is an invitation only community. This isn't, we're not selling tickets. We're not selling seats. There's an interview process. Look, if you've listened this long and you're interested, chances are shouldn't be a problem. Okay. Really, because, anyone's going to sit through 35 minutes of this is interested, and that's great.
Agents like us listen to things like this.
Exactly. Agents like us think about things like this. So there's that aspect, but you should know that this isn't just, Facebook ads, who wants to join kind of thing. This is we really do want to make sure, you do have a comfortable financial base. You're not threatened in your life. This is a conversation for people. It's not, I mean, what's the monthly fee? What, 97? What did we say?
$100.
$100.
So we can make it
whatever. But the point isn't, so there's not some huge financial burden here. Right. This isn't like, okay, this is $5,000 to join. This is $100 a month just to, manage our expenses and things. But and to have some skin in the game of it.
Yeah, of course.
But the point of it is really that, you do need to have you need to want it. You need to be in for the conversation. And we would just want to make sure that we don't have, we want to make sure that whoever's in this community is actually participating in the community, and there's no, it's leadership. There's no sitting on the side. There's no observers.
Right.
There's no, I mean, you want to come check it out for a month, fine, whatever, but we'll get that structure worked out, but that's not really, you get my point. I think
Yeah, no, I get the point. And I think the thing that has, I'm actually doing this, we call it a model of a community with life coaches right now. I have a community like this with life coaches. And what the biggest value that people say is the curated community, that it's a curated
that's good
space. The people are curated, and the application is part of that curation. Like, what makes it so valuable isn't the information. That's the old mindset. Old mindset is information. New mindset is conversation. Those are different. Information, conversation, different mindsets. So curating the space for the right conversation, the kind of conversation that pulls, that counterbalances the gravitational pull of GCI, to curate a space that pulls you into legacy and leadership, leveraging your business to do so. That needs curation. It doesn't happen by accident. It happens with intention.
Yeah.
Great. And that's what that's why we do it invitation only. That's why we do applications, because the people here, people like us, do things like this is paramount to this working.
Great. All right, good. So I think we can just wrap this up here. Yeah. I think that distinguished. Is there any more spaces that we need to distinguish there?
No, I mean, we've covered a lot of ground in this conversation. So, and you would definitely, if you're listening to this, know if this is interesting enough to you.
So if this is interesting to you, then you should reach out to either Chris or I, whichever one of us sent this to you, because it's pretty much the only way anyone's going to find it, is if we send this to you because we think you could possibly be interested, then you should reach back out and we will get you, started. We don't have a particular start date for this yet. This is really sort of like the first, hey, this is what we're doing. Yeah. Is this of interest? And if it is, let us know and we'll get you the details as we get them worked out, but we are building this.
I might even, maybe this ends up on a landing page where you, just for convenience, where you can click a button and fill out a form. And then that way it's, that either way, however you received this particular conversation, wherever, like if it's an email, like great, emails back. If it's on a landing page, fill out the thing, but one way or the other, like lean in and we'll follow up.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
Yay.
All right, man. I love what we're creating. I think if no one joins, Aaron, it's just you and me. Like this would be.
I would do this every week with you. Just it's a super cool idea. But there are more people like us.
Oh, I already know.
I know. We already know there's more people.
There are agents like us that want to do things like this. So
yes, very cool.
Thanks, brother.